a private chat and a live chat.
Yes, but we are live now. Yeah, so if you want to talk to me privately, we're live now at the moment, but I don't care. I'll just keep finishing my sentence. If you want to go, yeah, we're live now. But if you want to talk to me privately, you click on the private bit, and then you say something about the people in the chat. No, I'm kidding.
Okay, so we can bag them out privately in a private chat without.
Correct.
Good to know.
Indeed. All right, let me just mute.
In a private chat.
I'll just mute it. Oh, whoops. Oh, give me a second. I just made a mistake. All right, just gonna mute it on the other side. Okay, cool. All right, welcome everybody to my regular 8:15 p.m. live stream. Today, my guest is Samuel Lee. Samuel Lee has become infamous.
Not on purpose, but yes, I think I have been, yeah.
Yeah. All right, so for a second, what I'll do is I'll show everyone. I'm going to go to the share screen because I want everyone to see why you are so evil to the world at the moment, even though I think you're lovely. So go here. All right, so this is the article that has made you quite so the Daily Mail, the fine you pay for being useful. Accountancy firm comes under fire for a despicable Facebook ad calling for income tax to be abolished, but not everyone disagrees with the owner. So that's a fantastic little snippet for everyone to see. So you are an accountant, correct?
Yes, I am. I used to be an auditor as well, but then I realized that I had a personality, and I became an accountant. Yes.
How long were you an accountant before? Because a friend of mine was an auditor for the longest time for Deloitte. She loved it at the start. She thought it was the best because she got to travel with the job and got to go to but eventually she's like, I want to go on secondment. I'm sick of working here and blah, 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 blah. And then she ended up being, So how did that happen for you? You got out of being an auditor to being a proper accountant?
A few of my roles, there has always been an audit element. I worked in smaller accounting firms, which meant that you had to be an accountant and an auditor at the same time. So often, I would say around 40% of the work that I used to do was in audit or in the audit area, and the other 60%, sometimes even a 70% would be in regards to tax and accounting.
Okay. And how many interviews have you done? Is this your first interview? Because obviously you did that one, for the Daily Mail. How much attention has your little meme attracted?
This is my second interview. I did one informally with someone else, but this is the first time over the internet. So, yes.
Special, exclusive, right?
I'd say with the Daily Mail, I did a Facebook post that was a bit controversial on purpose because accounting ads is really boring. As soon as you see it, you just scroll through it and you regret even looking at it. So I tried to do something that was slightly controversial, factually correct, and I just I think I spent like $75 boosting it on Facebook.
Oh, fantastic.
And then and it was all around Australia, all the capital cities, and I think it got about 7,500 interactions, about 500 comments,
congratulations,
700 likes or dislikes or angry faces. So, and I found that out like the next day after the Daily Mail called me.
So good. Well, I'm just going to again share the screen because I want everyone to see the specific ad that got you in trouble. You know, this is the Rebel Accountant. So this is the ad, everyone, right here. Atlas Chartered Accountants. We make sure all deductions legally available are deducted to minimize your tax. It's not like the government will spend it wisely. Income tax, the fine you pay for being for the crime of being productive and useful.
Well, that is true.
It
That is
is
true.
true.
The more you earn, the more productive you are.
Yeah.
It generally means the more you earn, the higher the tax rate, which is 47%, including the Medicare levy, which is 50% of your work.
So
And
basically,
50% of the money.
we're Danish.
I'm sorry?
We're basically Danish. Isn't that what they do in Denmark?
Um, I know that the Scandinavian countries used to be socialist, and then they almost went bankrupt. However, they have been liberalizing their markets, reducing their tax rates. They still have the welfare element there, in which they are trying to get rid of, but they have largely moved away from socialism, high taxes, and high regulation. So
Yeah.
when Bernie Sanders said that he wants
Don't talk
America to
about
be
Bernie
like
Sanders.
Sweden,
Yeah.
Sweden is not a socialist.
Yeah,
Most of the Scandinavian countries are not either.
I'm aware. I've been to Sweden, I've been to Norway. That's not why I'm aware. I'm aware because I'm aware. But when I was in Denmark, we did a walking tour. You know, the walking tour is always free and then you just donate at the end. Do you know what I'm talking about? Okay, yeah. So I did a walking tour with a fellow who used to be Australian or used to live in Australia. And then he said, I moved to Denmark because Denmark's fantastic. It's the happiest place on earth. People think it's Disneyland, but it's not. It's Denmark. Yay, Denmark. And he goes, and they had a referendum not too long ago where they could make a vote. They could, like, the people could say whether they wanted to earn more and not be taxed 50%.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't want to change. They liked the system because it meant, and they don't, Denmark is not a socialist country. I forgot the title that it holds. It's obviously a monarch, among other things. It's not a socialist country. But the people voted and they wanted that 50% because they like the fact that they can go back to school and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Yes,
But
that
that's
is
the
true.
difference
Yeah.
between Denmark and Australia.
Yeah. Well, even though with those surveys stating that these Scandinavian countries are, they have the happiest population, there was, there are other statistics where the suicide rate is actually some of the highest around the world as well. And if you have a look at the numbers in regards to happiness and their culture, it is actually it is considered rude to indicate that you are unhappy. So whenever they do a survey, are you happy? They feel obliged to say, yes, I am. I'm very happy, even though they may not really be happy.
Are you talking about specifically Scandinavian countries have that specific?
Yes, that's right. That's right.
Oh,
The
I've never heard.
Scandinavian countries. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I
I'm sure
have.
you're right. I'm not going to question it because I haven't looked into that. But yeah, I didn't know that. But definitely, I think that Australia sounds like, and I'm not someone who knows money. You're Asian, so you know money.
That's right. Asian and Jews. Mm-hmm.
Sorry, I had to. You're Chinese or whatever it is you are. Like you're
Korean.
Korean. You're Asian, man. You're
Half
doing
North Korean. Yeah.
what? Not North
Half
Korean.
North Korean. Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting. We'll talk about that maybe later.
Maybe later. Yeah.
Maybe later. But point is that yeah, everyone knows. Well, anyone in my personal life knows that I'm not a money financial person. I don't understand maths, but I can say that it sounds like our taxes 40% is what we get taxed, right? That's a lot. That's almost half. Am I wrong?
47%.
Shit, that's
47%,
basically half.
including the Medicare levy.
That's basically half.
Basically half. Yes, that's
So
right.
don't get me wrong, but it sounds to me like you hate accounting, you hate the whole system, yet you're an accountant. What the hell?
Well,
That's just my way of wording it.
I've been an accountant for a good 15 years now, and I see what the politicians are stating, are raising income tax rates or lowering it or increasing a regulation. And then I see the actual implementation. My clients, in response to an increase in taxes or a regulation, They sit with their accountant and their lawyer, and they try and find the most cost-effective way to get around it.
Of course.
That's what I do. That's my job. So you know what? Every time the government increases taxes or regulation, all of a sudden, my high fees are feasible because they don't want to pay $20,000 in tax. They are willing to pay me $3,000 or $4,000 to avoid that.
Yeah.
Right? If that goes from 20,000 to 25,000, then you know what? I can charge a little bit more because if you don't hire me, you'll be paying a lot more in tax.
Yeah, that's crazy.
I have been seeing that my entire career, and you know what? I'm tired of it. Right?
Yeah.
There is no value in what I do. Okay. Well, actually, there is a value, and you save tax, but surely the thousands of dollars that you pay in tax could be reinvested in your small business, or you can save up capital to start a business, but you're not doing that because you're paying 47% tax to the government, and the government didn't earn a cent, right? You worked 60 hours a week for 5 years, but the government took their first cut first.
Yeah.
How is that fair? That is not.
Well, that's why they say taxation is theft. I've never agreed with that statement. I've always thought taxation is extortion.
I would say that a tax.
That's what libertarians say, and you are a libertarian. Am I correct? Or you a conservative?
Somewhat. I'm not consistently a libertarian in all aspects, but
No.
I am a libertarian economically. I believe
Okay.
that we should be more like a Singapore and Hong Kong in regards to economic policy, and not necessarily a social policy. And you can see the results. Australia took about 230 years to get to where we are. Singapore, when they were a former English port, a former English colony, everyone was poor, humid. It was a piss end country. And then all of a sudden, they went the other route. They didn't raise taxes. They didn't raise a regulation. They slashed taxes and regulation. Even though they didn't have an educated workforce, they still beat Australia. And they are now on par or probably even higher in regards to economic freedom and economic output than Australia.
That's crazy. Well,
And that took,
maybe when Dean McRae becomes prime minister, you can be like Australia's like financial advisor and get us back
or
on
treasurer.
the or treasurer. Yeah.
No. I don't think I would ever go into government in politics at all because I would be dealing with public servants on a daily basis,
And corrupt
and
people.
I definitely don't want that.
No, fair enough. Okay. Well, that's crazy. So you're saying that by slashing taxes, it's possible to gain economic freedom as a country, as a business. Is that what the point of that Singapore was? Is that what you were driving at, or have I misunderstood?
Yes. So if you slash a taxes, you slash a regulation.
Okay.
I'm not saying a no regulation, but a
No,
smart
no.
regulation. Yes. As well as
Sorry, I'm just laughing at the chat. Read what. Can you see what Dean just wrote?
Where is Dean? I am afraid whenever he writes something on
He
Facebook,
wrote,
I'm
"I'm
glad
glad
Sam didn't dispute my likelihood of being prime minister. It could happen. Donald Trump
but you didn't
is
question it
president.
at all.
He could be our next Trump.
He could be.
Yeah, absolutely.
Guys, for
Anyway,
those who don't understand what we're talking about, Dean and Samuel know each other. Samuel is Dean's accountant. Is that correct?
that's right. Yes.
And you also know each other because you're both part of the LDP? No, you're not part of it.
Yes, I am a member of the LDP quite recently. I think for about a year and a half now.
Okay.
After the Liberal Party really pissed me off, and I just chucked a piece of it.
I have been apparently I single-handedly took down the Victorian Liberals by showing up to an event. I'm a powerful woman.
Maybe you're powerful, or maybe they are incredibly weak.
I think it
could be both.
But I like the sound of the first. Sorry. Okay, you were talking and I interrupted you with Dean.
No worries. Yep. So basically, Singapore was a low tax rates, a low regulation, a strong rule of law, where property rights is paramount, where the government just can't come in and take your private property. All of those are countries that have that as a basis. They excel, they surpass other countries. Okay. All right. Prime examples are, say, at China and Hong Kong. Yeah. Okay. They have been in the news. At one point, they were a one country, and then in a dispute with the UK, Hong Kong was under the jurisdiction of Britain. Okay. And then in that time, mainland China increased taxes. It destroyed a property law, increased a regulation. Everything was planned centrally. And between 1948 to 1951, 45 million Chinese starved to death.
Shit. That's because of communism.
That's right. Now, at the same time, Hong Kong, same culture,
Western rule,
a different dialect. They didn't have the resources, but yet they went the other way. They slashed taxes, they slashed regulations, strong property rights, and they are some of the richest countries in the world. They have probably they have the largest a number of millionaires and billionaires.
Oh.
Which is probably a rival to Singapore as well. Okay. And it's because they went the other way. I see these numbers, I look at the outcomes, and the only thing that I can see that are the difference is more economic freedom. Yes. And that's what I want for Australia.
I think I agree. There are questions being asked in the chat. I was hoping that they'd ask a little bit later so we can keep the conversation going. But I don't want to I'll lose them if I don't, like, hopefully they start asking questions later on now that they've heard me say that. But this is a question. What do you think of the face recognition ID check prior to each time you view porn as pushed by the Department of Home Affairs? That's from A.U. Kekovich. Oops, that was an accident.
Face recognition ID check prior to each time you
I
view
don't
porn.
know if that's a serious question or not, but yeah.
I wasn't aware that the government was pushing that. I would be against it.
Yeah.
I don't know why, but I just don't trust the government to abuse. Well, I trust the government and not to abuse that that new feature.
Fair enough. Bryce Walsh, that's a new person to my channel. What are your thoughts on a low flat tax, both personal and corporate, at the same rate with a higher tax-free threshold and no deductions?
I would like, similar to that. I am an advocate of the fair tax, which I did state in that article with the Daily Mail, where you abolish income tax and company tax. You increase the GST from 10% to 20%. What that would entail, what that would mean is that no one will need to lodge a tax return again for the rest of their lives, which would also mean that I lose my job. But
then you can focus on that chef dream or on that singing career, you know?
Yeah. Maybe I can open a restaurant with Dean McRae. Yeah,
it's like match made in heaven.
Yeah. The reason for that is that you shouldn't be punished if you want to earn more money. If you want to work more, if you want to work harder and smarter, you shouldn't be punished for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and also with the current PAYG system that we have right now, you work at 60 hours, and the
Yeah.
government takes their first cut.
Yeah.
They didn't work with you for 60 hours next to you are working in the office, did they?
No.
Then
I
why
think
did they get the first cut?
Bryce likes your thoughts on
Yes,
that.
yes, that's right. So
That's positive.
yep, and also when you move to a consumption tax like GST, you pay
Mm.
tax when you spend, not when you earn the income. Yeah. And
Yeah.
since you choose when to spend your money, you choose when you pay your tax,
I love that. Yeah.
right? Yeah. Every
I agree.
time, yep, yep. And because you choose what to buy and how much, you choose how much you pay in tax,
Okay.
right?
Yeah. Well, so it sounds like, and I've been flirting with this idea lately, and I don't know what your thoughts are on it, but I've been flirting with the thought of anarcho-capitalism, because you get to choose where you want your money to go. You get to choose.
Mm-hmm.
You get to say, I want my money to go to the roads and old folks' homes. I don't want my money to go to abortion or Planned Parenthood or whatever. You get to sort of allocate yourself into
Mm-hmm.
the particulars of what you're earning, and so you're still going to pay taxes, but you're choosing where it goes. Do you have a thought on that, or do you have a way to
Well,
unpack that? Are you aware of it?
I mean, I like the principle.
Yeah,
You have more choice, but I'm afraid that the government won't be able to deliver a system that
like
would
that.
allow you to do that. We have the ATO here who can't even maintain a website, but yet they are trying to build an NBN right now, which is terrible.
And then, yeah.
I believe that if you try and get the government to do something like
No,
allowing you to choose where
anarcho.
the money goes.
I said
Oh,
anarcho.
okay.
Anarcho. Yeah, yeah.
Mm,
So
I
that
would say,
means
yeah.
themselves figure it out. I don't know how. I don't know how to
Mm,
implement that. It's just a thought. But I like
mhm.
the idea of not being just a conservative and being like an anarcho capitalist, because I don't know. So keep going. You
Yeah,
elaborate. I don't want to
yeah.
keep interrupting.
It's okay. I mean, as I said before, the principle is good.
Yeah.
It'll be very hard to implement, but I'm sure there will be a bright spark who can do an app that can do all of that.
Yeah.
That is, if they don't move to Singapore uh, and earn the money there. But
Offshore.
yeah. But I would say it is a good idea. Now, in regards to the income tax threshold,
Yeah.
I'm actually very much against that. All right.
So can you
If
explain that for the people, for the dumb people and me? What's
No
the tax?
worries,
I know
no
what it
worries.
is. That I know I always tick it when I'm
Mhm.
doing a new job. I've had like
Yep.
so many
Okay.
jobs since like 18 years of age to now, but like just explain it for the layman's terms, which is me.
Well, a premise: if you are an individual, that the
Hmm.
first $18,200 that you earn is tax free.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Yeah.
The actual effective tax rate is, sorry, the effective low income tax threshold is actually at 20,000 because you get a $445 a low income a rebate and so on. But we'll just say 18,000. Yeah.
All right.
Anyone who earns less than 18,200 pays no tax.
Okay. I did know
That
that.
I Yep.
Yeah.
That I am against because whenever you are voting, the politicians always play the taxpayers off against each other, right?
Oh, that makes
So,
sense.
like, if say the Labor Prime Minister says, I want to expand a Medicare and welfare, and will make everyone earning over over a $90,000 pay more tax. Everyone earning less than $90,000 will be going, yes, that's a great idea. Everyone earning over a 90,000 will be saying that's a bad idea, right? A similar example, a person who pays no tax, who earns less than $18,000, and a politician goes to them and says, we want to increase your welfare payments and the taxpayer will pay. All of a sudden, everyone earning less than 18,000 will be saying, that's a great idea. Everyone paying tax will be saying, that's a bad idea. I say everyone should have skin in the game. Everyone should be paying tax so that whenever a politician decides to increase the size of the government, they have to increase taxes on everyone. Then all of a sudden at the ballot box, they are thinking, this is a great program, but am I willing to pay for it through increased taxes?
Exactly.
Often it's a no, right? But
That's about two, because you can say yes to one and then no to the second one.
But yes, of course, but often whenever you vote for a politician who wants to increase the welfare state, they are also inadvertently trying to increase the tax rates as well. So privatize
the Australian
theft office.
With a question?
Yeah, with a question, I would say I'd be for that. The advocates of the fair tax in the US, which is the GST at 20%, they realize that if they do that, they can eliminate 90% of the IRS, then roll the remaining 10% into Treasury.
I think was this question already asked? Did I already show that?
Yes, you did. Yeah.
Okay, sorry. Keep going.
Yeah. So, yes, you could probably get rid of if you do the fair tax, you can probably get rid of 90% of the ATO, and then roll the remaining 10% into a Treasury, and then you can effectively eliminate the ATO.
Well, it sounds so easy. You make it sound so basic. It's like, well, let's get on it.
Yeah, because the complexity of our income tax, the complexity of our tax code lies largely in the income tax and company tax. Yeah. But if we got rid of income tax and company tax, we get rid of the majority of the tax legislation, which means that we can get rid of the majority of the ATO.
Let's do it. Benjamin Molesworth, question. Has Samuel heard of the Laffer curve? Can he explain it? Where do we sit on the curve? And what should the government do?
I know the Laffer curve. I don't know if I can explain it properly in this instance, but there is a point where you increase taxes. Where you increase taxes, the tax revenue arises, but there is a point where if you increase taxes over a certain point, tax revenue actually falls.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because if you tax someone at 95% or at 100%, okay. Yeah. Then the next year, that person won't earn as much.
Yeah.
Right. So therefore, tax revenue would fall, even though the tax rate hypothetically is at 95% or more.
That's what Trump has done, right? That's why he's doing so well, because he's slashed tax.
That's right. He has slashed the corporate tax rate in the US from, I think, 35% to around 21%.
Good on him.
And then before that, he was systematically reducing a regulation and the cost of a regulation.
Mm.
And then when that happened, as soon as the tax cuts passed both houses in Congress and in the Senate, and he signed the bill, all of a sudden, all of these large US multinationals that banked up large amounts of cash in tax havens like Ireland, Hong Kong, and Singapore, all of a sudden, they just repatriated it in the US. So a prime example, Apple. As soon as Donald Trump passed the tax cuts,
Yeah.
Apple announced that they were going to transfer something like 150 or 180 billion dollars in cash into the US. And then, yep, that's right. And then because of that, the IRS got their cut, which was around, I don't know, 35 to 38 billion dollars. And then with the money that Apple got after tax, they have invested in manufacturing in the US.
Good.
Yep.
That's good.
Yep.
Keeping
And
it clean rather than Mexico and China.
That's right. And they
Mexican.
and they have announced that they are going to create a second campus, one being in California and the other one in Texas. I think they've announced that they will create a third campus, I think, in Dallas, I think, or something like that.
Cool. That's so good.
Which means hundreds of billions of dollars in extra investment by Apple in the US economy. And because they are hiring high-skilled white-collar jobs, and they are paying tax revenue will rise in the medium or long term.
Wow. How old are you?
38.
My gosh, you're the same age as Dean. You look so much better than him. It's the Asian blood. I'm sorry, Dean. I'm only joking. Margot asks, has he explained the difference between extortion and theft? I think tax is extortion.
Well, yes, if you don't pay it, you'll get a fine. If you don't pay that, you'll go to jail. Sort of, yes, I guess. I wouldn't say that it is extortion, but I believe that...
What word is better? Like, I don't know anything about money. That's just the word I would use. Maybe you know a better word that's not theft, that's not extortion, that more accurately describes what taxation is.
I don't know. You know what? I think at this stage I would settle on extortion. All right. Even though I don't know, I think I'll have to go away and think about the word, but I would say extortion.
What about retarded? Is that a good
word? Sorry?
Is retarded a good word?
Good word? Okay, retarded as in if you want to increase the economy, if you want to increase the pie, if you want to increase jobs.
Yeah.
And if you think increasing taxes on businesses and employers is a way to do that, then yes, that is retarded.
Yeah, definitely. I just like hearing you say the word retarded. Because you're such a professional. That's gonna be my goal for the rest of the live stream. Get you to say funny words. All right. All right. Challenge. All right. So Jason, question: do you think, both of you, I'll get you to answer because I won't have any smart responses, that negative income tax would be a better system to use rather than the welfare we have today?
I'm afraid I don't know the finer points of the negative income tax. All I know, it was advocated first by Milton Friedman. For you to get a tax back if you don't earn any income in 1 year and paid no tax in 1 year, I'm afraid I don't know enough about the negative income tax to actually comment on it. I'm sorry.
That's all right. My moderator, Margaret, wants to know welfare. It's not a question, but I think it's interesting. Welfare should predominantly come from religious, non-profit organizations and generous philanthropists. Less tax equals more money in the pockets to help others. So this is where socialism would be completely destroyed, and where charity can take over and doing philanthropy. What do you think of that statement?
I would agree with Margot. If you
Yeah.
look back, I'll give you the example of the US. In the between in the 1900s to a 1930, maybe a 1940, there wasn't much of a welfare state in the US. But the poor are relied on church groups and charities and stuff like that. It was not until the government has started to step in and replace the church groups and the charities with welfare payments, that's when more people were not able to get out of the welfare trap.
I completely understand.
Yeah?
And that's where indoctrination happens, and where Black
Yeah.
people believe that they deserve more rather than working because their 1945 counterparts were doing much better. Sorry, I'll let you continue.
All good. And a similar thing happened in Australia as well.
Okay.
Where, like, in a community, if you were in trouble, if you went on hard times, you would firstly ask, say, your parents, your family, and then if not them, then you would have your friends. If not them, then you would have your church group, maybe your workmates, the community in general. And then after that, if all else fails, you would go to the government for a meager handout. Nowadays, if you have fallen on hard times, the welfare check is the first option rather than the last option.
Gotcha.
And that's, I think, part of the reason why the welfare state in Australia, America, all the Western countries have exploded, especially in the last, say, 50 or 60 years.
Oh, okay. Immigration.
It's because the government came in and said, we can help the poor better than these church groups and the community groups. And I can see the numbers. It ain't happening.
No. So you and I have to leave this country to make things better.
Well, we have a dependence, which is everyone in Parliament, everyone in the Senate, and all of the public servants. I mean, like, they have to eat as well, you know.
Yeah. I was just teasing because I know we're both. Are you first generation Australian? Were you born here?
I was born and raised here.
Yes, like me.
That's right. So my mother she came here. If I'm 38, that means my mother came to Australia about 42 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah. So I think back then, South Korea was a dictatorship. And I guess she came here as a refugee, but I'm not entirely sure. I didn't really.
You guys sound really close.
Yeah.
And your dad? Where is he?
My dad is also from Korea, from South Korea. My mother, her family was actually from North Korea. So
and from the south. Okay.
Yeah. So they fled to the south during the Korean War, I think. Yes.
Cool. I've been to Korea, not North.
Yeah.
South Korea. Yeah, I really liked it. I had a lot of fun there. Good economy, good people. It's like a mini America, only it's all Asian.
No, I would think they are more.
Thanksgiving.
I would say that I would describe South Korea more as like more of a Japan. Yeah, everything's clean.
Japan, but I said that to a few of them, and they didn't like it. They said, "We're not Japanese." I said, "No, I know." I'm saying
that's right.
I had been to Japan several years earlier, and then I was like, "No, I know. It's just, you guys have the little cutesy cartoony thing going," and they're like, yeah, "We're not Japan." I'm like, "Oh, okay."
No. The reason for that is that Japan and Japan and Korea have had a bad history. So
Japan has done a lot of damage to a lot of different people.
that's right, yes. But the Koreans have taken that personally, and they have used that as sort of like a motivation, which is
Yeah.
we got to beat Japan economically, socially,
They have
anyway.
economic.
So yeah, so basically, what they've done is they have mimicked Japan, be like Japan, and beat Japan, right?
Mm.
And they have largely done that.
And
At
the
least,
language is similar sounding. I'm not suggesting I know anything about Asian languages, but if
yeah,
I hear Mandarin, it's really hard. I learnt Mandarin for 10 years. I
yeah.
remember hardly any of it. When I hear Japanese, it's pretty. When I hear South Korean or Korean spoken, it's also quite pretty. So
Is
it's
it?
soft. I think so. You don't
Oh
speak
yeah.
easy. Do you speak
Um,
only?
well, for me, because I grew up in a Korean household, a Korean sounds normal to me.
Fair enough. Fair
I
enough.
guess, I guess maybe in regards to maybe a Mandarin and Cantonese, I can hear like the Mandarin
It's like
is
ni
very
hao,
soft, right?
it's like
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah,
But it's more but it's more softer. While the
yeah,
Cantonese Hong Kong is a lot more loud, more brash,
yeah.
and yeah, yeah. So I can hear that with the Chinese, but I don't hear that with the Korean.
Oh, fair enough.
So
I'll take your
yeah.
word for it. You're Korean, I'm not. What Beaver Beaver Anti-Bullying asks, what does Samuel think of outlawing this heinous sin of usury, I don't know how to pronounce that word, and having a state bank which issues zero interest rate loans for a fixed fee?
Well, I believe that we shouldn't have a central bank at all,
Okay.
um, because the only real thing that they do is set interest rates in which they do not comply with anyway.
Okay.
Their economic forecasts are mostly wrong, and if they are right, it is merely a coincidence. I'll give you an example. The Reserve Bank of Australia have never predicted any of the financial crises that we've had in the past 50 years.
Wow, that's
They have
insane.
they have never okay, they can predict maybe the economic growth or fall over the next a quarter or the next year, but they
Okay.
are just guessing. The reason why I say that is because they normally look at the trends and that's about it.
Mm.
But they have never predicted the GFC. They have never predicted the Asian meltdown that started off in Indonesia. They never
Yeah.
predicted the stock market crash in the 1980s. They
Mm.
predicted none of those.
Maybe they did, and they just didn't tell the public.
Maybe they predicted it, but they were too scared to actually make it public.
Mm,
Maybe
maybe.
because they didn't want because they see the Reserve Bank as like a stabilizing influence on the economy, and if they go, we are about to go into a financial hell, then
Mm,
the market could panic
yeah.
possibly.
Yeah.
But if they can't tell the truth, the hard truth, when
Yes,
the market needs it, then that's another reason why we should get rid of the Reserve Bank.
for sure. So this person, AG93. So we were saying, taxation is theft, taxation is extortion. Maybe taxation is embezzlement. That's
Embezzlement. Embezzlement means that you are trying to hide it and steal it.
yeah. It's like sneaky.
Yeah, but they aren't hiding it.
No, they ain't.
So maybe embezzlement may not be the right word. Actually,
Fair
if this is
Get there.
going to this is going
Eat
to
you
be
up.
on my mind. What is the ATO? It's not theft. Could be extortion. Not embezzlement. I think I'll have to think about it
Yeah.
over the weekend.
So Dean here is saying that the only reason that you're cuter than he is because you're in a better profession. You're in a cuter profession.
A cuter profession.
I don't even know what that means. Like, what's wrong with being a chef?
I'm sure. I know.
It obviously ages you. Let's see what my friend Elizabeth says. I agree. I love what Trump has done with the US economy. He's very much for a time such as this. Book of Ruth. Book of Ruth. Oh, that's a biblical reference.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you're not a Christian, are you? I can tell.
I am culturally a Christian. I am personally.
But you didn't know what the Book of Ruth was.
I mean, I go to a Sunday. I used to go to a Sunday school.
Same.
I can't say that I paid attention.
Yeah.
But I am a culturally a Christian.
Yeah, well, that's nice.
I am personally a social conservative, but I would never force that on anyone else. Economically, I'm a libertarian. Just socially, in regards to what I want the laws to be, is also a libertarian.
Are you pro-life?
My social value. I am somewhat pro-choice.
Oh, I've just
I'll give you. No. Hold on a second. Okay. Let me explain. There are two positions.
Sorry,
we're
supposed to be talking about tax. I'm so sorry, but yeah, I want to hear your stance on abortion.
What I want the law to be and what I believe personally.
Okay, go ahead.
What I believe personally, it is at conception. So I am a pro-life.
So life is life at conception.
That's right. Yes, but in regards to the law, I have to be consistent. All right. When do we consider a life? And for me to assess that, I look at the other end, which is when do we consider a person dead? Right.
When their heart stops beating, I suppose.
No, because your heart can stop, and the doctor can restart it, so it's not on heartbeat. I'm thinking a brain activity.
Oh,
as soon as the fetus exhibits a brain activity in any way, then I think the law should be the right to life should be equal, or actually maybe not equal, but it should be a paramount in regards to the law, right?
Okay.
I hear crazy people on the left as saying that life begins as soon as a person takes their first breath. And I'm thinking in my head, that doesn't make sense.
No,
What happens if a person is say drowning and they're not breathing? It doesn't mean that they are dead. No, right? If say some people say as soon as the baby's head crowns, I'm going. So does the vagina bestow a personhood on the baby?
Vagina's a power.
That's right. I won't argue that. Yeah, I'll take your word for it.
No,
a lot of men think about it and obsess over it for like most of their lives.
Yeah.
So maybe.
That's what a feminist would say, which I'm not. I'm not a feminist. I've got Bible. Okay. I've got Christian books behind me. Yeah.
So what's the next one? How would you
counter the assertion that a 20% consumption tax is regressive and impacts the poor to a larger extent than the rich?
Well, I would say I'll give you two examples. Two workers, one rich, one poor. The poor earns a 10,000. Oh, okay. Let's just say a 20% consumption tax. The poor person spends $10,000 and they are taxed, say, $2,000, while the rich person spends $200,000 and they $100,000 and they pay $20,000 in tax. So the rich person pays at 20,000, the poor person pays 2,000. A flat tax rate of 20%. The rich person pays $18,000 more than the poor person. I think that is fair.
That does sound fair.
It's just that we are so used to the progressive income tax as the norm. Whenever you state whatever I have just stated, as I think, oh my God, that is so unfair on the poor. But if you actually point it out to them and just explain it, and they realize, it is fair.
It does
at 20% across the board. So yes.
No, that's a good. I like the way you described that. This is an interesting question. You don't have to answer, but I like it.
Okay. if we take,
sorry, that's really funny.
If we take this a 50%, I would say yes.
Yeah, it has.
No,
well, it
honestly,
has.
Honestly, Asians have fled their own countries either because they are a dictatorship or they are being overtaxed or they are running away, and they go to a country in which they think that they can make a life for.
Okay, but the Chinese are buying Australia. Like they come here, they come to our neighborhoods, they buy houses, and then they live in them for 4 months of the year, and then they go back to China. Like, come on.
Yeah, but I would no.
Yeah.
I mean, I see this in another view, as in most Australians, white Australians, see that as like an Asian invasion, right?
Yes,
but I see it. I see it the other way, as in the Chinese have made their money in China, and they are trying to hide their money from a communist government.
That's true. Yes, I can acknowledge that. That's a good perspective.
They can't just hide it under their blanket, under their mattress, because the Chinese government can just come in. They can't. So what they do is they transfer it out to a different country, in which it'll be hard for the Chinese government to come in and confiscate it. Right?
But if we did that, if I put all my money in Colombia or in Spain or something, I would.
You will lose all your money. Maybe in Hong Kong and Singapore. Then yes, that's right.
If I did that, is that illegal? Wouldn't I be done in? Wouldn't Australia get mad? Wouldn't the Australian taxation be like, you hid your money from us, it's all in China or whatever, it's all in Hong Kong. So why are the Chinese allowed to do that? And why aren't Australians allowed to buy land in China the way they're doing here? Why are we so open, but too open?
Well, the trade arrangements between countries are not fair, really.
No, that's true.
Our market is like fairly free.
Yes.
While their market is very restrictive. I remember about 15 to 20 years ago, the requirement of like multinationals to open up in China was that they had to take on a Chinese partner. So like a company like a Microsoft, for them to have a presence in China, they would have to get a partner, a Chinese partner, and go into a partnership in China. Of course, the Chinese partner would be high up in the Chinese Communist Party. They can grease palms and, make phone calls and issue permits to Microsoft and, all these other multinationals who want to get a license to do business there.
Yeah. Philip Cunningham again. Should the Commonwealth Bank return to its original charter of being the People's Bank?
Oh, absolutely not. No. I mean, if you have a look at all, okay, when he says a people's bank, I assume that it would be owned by the government. Yes, is that what he means, or does he mean like every time there is every time there is a shareholders a meeting, it is essentially a vote nationally. Is that what he means? Like a people's
I don't
bank, or is it?
know.
Okay,
He
okay,
hasn't elaborated.
okay,
I can only show you what he posts. He might be.
okay.
He might
I will
elaborate.
propose. Okay, what I think he means is that owned by the government for the people. That is what I will assume that he is implying, and I would say that I would be very much against that, because if you have a look at all of the past companies that were owned by the government, it was a basket case.
Mm.
I'll give you a prime example: Telstra. It used to be known as a telecom,
Oh, that's
100%
right.
owned.
I
That's
remember that.
right.
Yeah.
Yep, 100% owned by the government, 100% run by the government.
Mm.
It was the own. It had a monopoly, and telecom barely made a profit. The service was atrocious, and the people had no choice but telecom.
Oh.
Right? At the time, comedians used to make fun of a telecom. They used to do jokes about a telecom. Then, when Howard came in, he corporatized it,
Yeah.
then he privatized it, or at least a portion of it. I think it was like 20% initially, then a third, then half, and so on. All of us, and then the Australian government allowed our competitors to come in, like Optus, AAPT, and Vodafone, and
Orange
so
is a
on.
thing.
That's right. That's right. And then all of a sudden, Telstra slashed their prices in half. So like, so like, so like a phone call from a fixed line used to cost 40 cents untimed. Then all of a sudden, overnight, it halved to 20 cents per call
Mm.
because of the competition. Then
Okay.
because of that, yeah, and then because of that, they were forced to find new revenue streams, had to provide internet, other communications. If you have a look at Telstra now, they provide hundreds, if not thousands, of different services and products. When compared to a telecom, only real one service, and it was provided badly.
Okay.
So yeah, if we do a people's bank, it'll be like that. All right. And no one will go to it because the service will be the worst. I think maybe the RTA, yeah, they have a monopoly, right? And their service is really bad. Just imagine that, but like with the banks.
Okay. All right. There's another question I'm interested in hearing you respond to. Peter V. What does Samuel think about income splitting? I'm not sure specifically what he means, but I thought I'd put it up there. I don't know what it means.
Income splitting. Um, there are limitations to it. You can
Okay.
do it in different ways through a family trust, um, where the family trust or some entity makes the money and makes the profit, and then it issues a fully franked dividend into the family trust, and then from that it is split up to various family members. Yep.
Okay.
I am for that as long as it's done legally
Oh, okay.
and correctly.
Yeah. So unemployed and pensioners pay tax via the GST and fuel excise. I find this wrong. It's not a question, but I was curious what your thoughts were on that.
Oh yes, I find it wrong as well. I think we should. We should reduce the excise tax on fuel and other items that are considered a sin, like alcohol and tobacco. Um, but every time you every time you make exemptions or concessions for certain taxpayers and not others, you complicate the tax code. Yeah.
Mm.
Say, for instance, you say that everyone has to pay tax except for people who wear hats. Okay. All of a sudden, everyone will start wearing a hat. just to avoid tax,
For
right?
sure.
Similar to what I do as an accountant as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
Say the government says everyone should pay at this tax rate, but if you are a small business who has a turnover of less than $50 million, then you are considered a small business. All of a sudden, all of a sudden, all the businesses that earn $52 million will find ways to earn only 50 million.
Okay.
By deferring income, prepaying expenses, and stuff like that. Yeah. So, like every time you make concessions and exemptions for certain taxpayers and voters, then you'll see inequity both at the ballot box, but also in regards to economics as well.
Okay. Philip Cunningham is stating that what you're saying regarding telecom is total rubbish. It was one of the world's leading telecommunication organizations, and he knows this because he has a family member that worked there, which I don't really think is sufficient enough. It's like someone saying, my wife's a doctor, I know all about heart surgery. But anyway, what's your thoughts on his comments?
I mean, at the time, me and my family, I never had issues with a telecom. I mean, whenever we requested a repair, it would take about 28 days or more, which was the norm at the time, right? But in the end, we had no real issues. And if we just use my personal example, then yes, a telecom was great. But if you have a look at a telecom as a whole, if you have a look at it statistically, they were terrible, right?
Okay.
Just because one person had a good experience of one time, it doesn't mean that a telecom was what was it, a world leading
organization? Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. He may own shares in Telstra or something. I don't know.
I don't know. I just find it's silly logic to say my family worked there, or my wife's a doctor, or I know all about garbage trucks because my husband drives a garbage truck. It's like it's in the family, it's in the experience, but it's not you personally. So I find that odd. I don't know. I don't get that logic. But anyway.
Yeah. I mean, it is a bias in which everyone has. Everyone has.
Yeah, I have a bias. I prefer people who are pro-life to pro-choice. I'm just joking. But that is a bias. All right, one of the questions that we discussed prior to going live that I actually want to hear what your thoughts are on. What are your thoughts on transgenderism in businesses and that kind of stuff? Because I find that super interesting.
Well,
that was in the list, and that's a good question.
That's right. Business owners, they rely more on common sense and business sense.
As they should.
Yeah, I mean, as in, we will do anything that will increase the profits. We won't do anything that will hurt it.
Yeah.
Yes. In regards to trans agendas,
like the transgender toilet, the whole transgender, like re-education, like how you're supposed to treat them in the office, all that crap. What are your thoughts on all of that extra BS?
I am open to hiring transgenders.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, of course, if they can make me money, because I'm not a charity, right? If you don't make me money, then you're out. I don't care if you are a man, a woman, a gay, or transgender.
Yeah,
right.
Exactly.
I am a business owner.
Yes.
And I would base my decision on that. Yeah. If I so like I probably only have met one person who was a transgender, and that person was a delightful. Right. She was. I met her on the campaign trail for the Australian Indian Conservatives.
Is her name Dana?
Sorry.
Is her name Dana? Dana?
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, she's my friend.
Yeah. She was a delightful person.
She
and if all our transgenders were like her, I would have no issue.
Sure.
However,
They're not.
they are not like her.
No.
The majority are anything but her.
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking at statistics where
Yeah.
like 70% of transgenders have tried to kill themselves at some
It's
point in
very
their
sad.
lives or
Very sad.
something like that, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I just imagine that in the business context. I hire a transgender, okay? I spend time and money, say, at training them up,
And making them their own
getting
toilet.
them to learn my business so that they can make me money.
Mm-hmm.
I spend months, if not a years, at training them, and then I come to work on Monday, and my employee is no longer there because he or she decided to
Get
try
PC.
to kill themselves.
Oh yeah,
Right?
well that's
Yeah,
very sad.
all
Yeah,
that wasted, right? And I see that personally as just in a business sense.
it's extra
Okay,
baggage. No, I understand what you mean. Mm.
and and also and also the disruption as well. I mean, for a person to commit suicide, they would have issues. They would have underlying issues,
Oh, of
right?
course, and it
Yeah,
doesn't solve the problem. Like changing your
that's right.
previous form to the newer form, for
Yeah,
many, it doesn't change the problem. Then they end up regretting it, and then that's called transgender regret. And so then on top of that, they feel guilty for changing their body. They were misdiagnosed, and then they might kill themselves for that reason. So it's already like several different mental problems,
yeah.
depression, whatever it may
Mm.
be. It's sad. Like we should be helping them. But I mean, not you specifically. I just mean they need help. That's all I mean.
Yeah. I do agree that they need help. We shouldn't. If there is a crazy person, you don't, you don't say, well, you don't encourage them,
No.
right? You
It's like that
would,
episode of The Simpsons where Homer Simpson says to Marge, "I am going to eat myself until I become obese, so that I can work at home." Do you remember that episode?
I remember that episode.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
that's
how
right.
good is that? How good is that for an analogy on helping
It
transgender?
is. It is. I guess another analogy in regards to a transgenderism is if hypothetically I go to a doctor and say I feel as if I am a disabled, which
Okay,
means that I am a perfectly normal, but I feel like I am a disabled. So please,
okay.
cut off my leg. Right?
There are
The
people who want
GP would go, okay, I'm going to refer you to a psychiatrist.
exactly.
But if a person comes in and says, I think I'm transgender, I want to cut off my penis or my breasts,
Perfect analogy. Yeah.
all of a sudden the doctor is required to not refer them to a psychologist,
Mm-hmm.
but instead encourage them
Yeah.
and say there is nothing wrong with you.
Yeah.
It is all society that is at fault.
Mm-hmm.
It is their issue.
Yeah.
I'm thinking
We're the biggest.
that is the issue. Yeah, and I'm sorry, I am not the type of person that would do that. I would say that it's an issue.
Mm.
But again, I mean, if I had a transgender employee and they were a normal in regards to everything else, and
Mm.
they had no mental issues and stuff like that, I mean, I mean, they can be a productive employee.
For sure. Yeah, I
Mm.
would agree with that. What about the rise of PC culture in businesses? Obviously, you own the business. Are you in your business now? Is
Yes,
that
I am. Yeah.
yeah.
Yep.
So that's
Mhm.
Atlas. That's
Yes, it is.
Atlas.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like as a business owner, have there been people that come to you? Like, is there sort of that I don't know because is there some sort of government implementation that you have to now use certain words in the office? Is there a HR system? Like how has the politics and the PC culture and homosexuality and transgenderism seeped its way into businesses?
Again, it would be at the business sense, a common sense, a business sense. I don't do anything that will decrease your income. I do everything that will increase it. And
What
if
about
it
bullying and
Hmm?
words? Bullying and words, like harassment, like those sorts of stupid things that people think someone whistling at you is like hate.
Well, in a work environment, you would want to be courteous
For sure, for
to
sure.
your workmates. Yeah.
Okay.
If you don't, then there'll be a conflict, and then the business owner would have to step in because that will affect profit and costs and time, and therefore all the employees, despite their issues and differences, are more likely to like set it aside
Mm.
and work commonly, right? However, you don't see that on social media where you have no reason to, and they go nuts. But in a business sense, in the workplace, it is largely controlled,
Mm-hmm.
though not directly by the employer, but through other means, right? I don't do anything, I don't say anything that will distract you from earning money. That has kept it quite low, as in it's not apparent really in business yet. Though I see a businesses, especially a large companies that have a PR department, and they go and they say that they are, a pro LGBTIQ. Is that
Plus
it?
something.
Yeah,
LGBT.
yeah. And you know what? That is a business decision. So they did that and said it will increase our profits by this much if we do this, as opposed to us not doing it. And in that regard, I'd say a power to them if they can earn more money and more profits by doing that, then I have no issue with that.
Fair enough. I think I have one last question, and then I'm free to let you go home. I didn't realize you were staying back in your office just for this interview. I'm sorry.
That's okay. It's fine.
Yeah, okay. Well, my last question is regarding, actually, no, I have two questions. One is, first of all, what your thoughts on censorship are with Facebook. I feel like Facebook and Twitter and all of those are their own example of a form of communism. I don't know how you would put it. And then I want your thoughts on superannuation. And then we can close up.
Okay. So in regards to social media and free speech, I am the admin for the Australian Conservative Libertarian Group, which is probably about 18,000 people strong.
Wow.
And I was a shadow banned for about a week by Facebook.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you know what? I mean, it hurts, and I would like to say it is against free speech, but Facebook is a private company, so is Twitter, and they are entitled to do that. But what I have an issue with is they present themselves as a platform for a free speech and different
Exactly.
views.
I agree with you. Yes.
Okay. Not only Facebook, but also a YouTube as well. And then for them to turn around and say, nope, that's not allowed. All of a sudden, I think under a consumer law, they have done something wrong. So they have sold themselves to the consumer as a free speech platform.
They have. That's what they've claimed.
Then when you create an account and they make money off you by selling your private details, then they turn around and say, nope, we are not a free speech. It's hate speech. We are banning you. We are restricting you. That is what I don't like. And I'm thinking, if someone can possibly do a test case under a consumer law, to say that they have falsely advertised themselves as a free speech platform. I don't know. And maybe a Facebook and YouTube could get into trouble. I don't know.
Who knows?
I would like to see that. Yeah.
And superannuation. Do you think
Super?
Do you think it's bad? Do you think old people should be doing it? Do you think they deserve the pension? Like, how does all that ravel up in your head?
A super and making it a requirement and making it law, I'm against, but the law is the law now. So if it's the law, you need to comply. And if you want to change it, you need to change it at the ballot box. And the reason why, the reason why there have been so many issues with, say, a Woolworths and the TV chefs who have restaurants that are being done for underpaying staff and super, is because a part of the reason is there is so much pressure in regards to the food and the hospitality industry, especially industries that are low margin, high volume. Okay, as in the margins are so low that they are forced to actually try and find a cost some way. And the other reason is the superannuation law is very complicated. It is highly regulated. And if, say, the same regulation for super applied to our economy, we would be a socialist state. All right, it would destroy the economy, right? Okay. If we applied the same level of a regulation with super and applied it to the rest of the economy, the economy would tank and go into a bankruptcy. It would be North Korea, right? Oh, wow. It would destroy it, yeah. And I lost my train of thought. So super, because it's so complicated, and there are so many employees, and each employees are either under an award, or they are not. They are in different states, different jurisdictions. Some of them are casuals, part-time, full-time. It's all different. And the regulations and super is all different to like a different people, as in the pay rates. Because the pay rates are different, therefore the super, which is like a 9.5% on the pay rate, is different as well. Yeah. So because the pay rates are all different, a super can be very complicated.
Yeah. So, well, I just think about things at times, and I'm like, my super, I don't know, I haven't looked at it in a while, but I'm sure in my lifetime I have probably, I'm guaranteed over $10,000. Like I'm around 50 grand maybe. I don't know. It would be fantastic to like grab that so I could put like a deposit on a damn house, but I'm not allowed to touch it.
Well, the government has announced a new initiative, the First Home Buyers Super Saver Scheme, where you can contribute up to $15,000 in super as a concessional contribution, which means you get a tax deduction every year, $15,000 with a limit of $30,000 per person. Once you find a property that you like, you can withdraw that amount and put it towards
just the 15.
Just the amount over the 9.5% a super, and a maximum of 30,000 per person.
But what's the point?
Confused?
You might, a little bit, because you might as well just put all that money into a bank account. Why?
Well,
I don't get the point.
I'll give you an example.
No numbers. So.
Yeah, okay. I'll make it as simple for you.
Please do.
Let's just say hypothetically, you earn $180,000 or more than that, which is a 47% tax, including the Medicare levy, right? Okay. Now you can reduce your taxable income by $15,000 if you contribute $15,000 into your super fund above the 9.5% that your employer would put in.
Okay.
And that amount of up to $15,000 would be a deduction. So 15,000 at times a 47%, that'll be your tax refund. Okay, which I can't.
Okay, so say I had 70 grand already, and I decided to put all that 70 grand into my superannuation rather than keep it in my bank account. Would that help for the property?
Yes, it would,
Okay.
because when you contribute into your super fund for the first home buyers grant, you get a large tax deduction. So therefore, you would get a large tax refund. Then the money that is in your super fund would be taxed at 15%. If you had that money under your name in a bank account, that as in the bank interest would be taxed at 47%.
Yes.
But if you had it in your super fund, you'd be taxed at 15%.
Oh, I get it. Okay, sorry.
That's the tax savings there. All right?
That makes sense. Yeah.
So when you put the money in $15,000 into your super fund, you will also get a $15,000 tax deduction. So that's a deduction right there, and a tax refund. While the $15,000 is in your super fund, the money that is earned from that $15,000 is taxed at 15%, as opposed to 47% if it was in your bank account under your name.
Gotcha. Cool.
So it's like over the years, as you save up, the tax benefits or the tax savings helps you in your deposit for a home.
Good to know.
Yep. And so if you have like a partner, a husband or a boyfriend, in which say they are doing the same thing, you're 30,000, his a 30,000, you combine it together at 60,000, that is a deposit for a home.
You just hit a sore spot there. No kidding.
That's right. Maybe that is a deposit for a home in Melbourne, but maybe not in Sydney.
Oh well, yeah, that's true. The laws change state to state as well, and then like.
Oh no. As in the house prices here in Sydney is astronomical.
Oh yeah, that's true as well.
Oh,
like
yeah.
Actually, it's funny because I was actually just talking to a real estate agent a couple of days ago. So weird that we ended up stumbling on this subject.
Okay, so we have talked about the super. We have talked about everything. Is there anything else that you would like to talk about?
No, I think we're done. Most of the people are talking about Jewish stuff and money and Asians, and so it's irrelevant. It's not relevant to you or to us. So I think you're free to go home. Thank you so much. I'm really glad that you came on. I really enjoyed this live. I didn't think I would, just because I'm so not maths. I'm so not there. But
tax is very boring by nature.
It can be, but we made it fun.
Did we?
I think so.
I don't know if we did.
Well, I mean, they did ask if there's an Asian invasion. That made me laugh.
Partially true, depending on who you speak to.
Yeah, very true.
If you go to Chinatown, yes.
Very true. But you're not Chinese.
Yeah, I'm Korean.
You're Korean. And you guys have better food. That's
a Korean barbecue. A Korean barbecue is very paleo and low carb.
Yeah, exactly. But no, thank you, Dean, for organizing this. This is very cool.
Thank you, Dean. Yes, thank you.
He's still in the chat.
Thank you for having me. Is he?
No, I'm really pleased. And guys, stay tuned for next week. I have the editor of Penthouse magazine, Damien, coming on. Ooh. And yeah, cool, huh? I'm hooked up. Yeah. And tomorrow is Friday, so I think tomorrow's Thursday. So stay tuned for the Uncuckables, which is on the Uncuckable channel at 8:30 p.m. And that's it. I'll let everyone go. Bye, everyone. Thanks for tuning in. Bye. I'll just end the broadcast. Did I click it? Nope. Now I'm clicking it.